Hi, and welcome to today's event where we have the pleasure to present Inderes. To help us through today, we are joined by CEO Mikael Rautunen. In today's event, we will cover the Q1 results you released Friday. If I should look at it, 25% organic growth, 54% if we include the acquisition, but that's of course a little bit of an easy way to go. But 25 organic growth, I guess that's compared to last year and maybe even your guidance, a strong start and a solid start. I've seen headlines on your company. So let's dig a little bit into that. What is driving that? And let me say for full disclosure that we have a partnership with you and you on the technology side, and you own 20% of HC Andersen. So just to get everything of that out of the way, questions you can ask in the box down below. But for now, I will hand the presentation over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, I think a solid start. That's a good reflection on the for a headline for the first quarter and the start of the year. So yeah, we're pretty happy with how the year started. I mean, last year for us was, we said we are building the foundation for future growth. And obviously going to this year, that's what we are kind of like supposed to deliver, because last year was very much about building the foundation. We kind of like had good performance on all areas, I would say, and particularly strong performance in the HCM business. The HCM product is something we've been building for the past couple of years. The product is developing fast. We have developed the product a lot to respond to kind of like the post-COVID and new legislation era. And of course, that product development has paid off quite well. And that is very much reflected in the Q1. HCMs, of course, is a seasonal business, and that supported us in Q1. And of course, there are still quite a lot of HCMs on the Q2 as well, but it's a bit weighted on the Q1. But overall, very solid and start for the year. I'm really happy with that one. On the profitability side, we also improved our margins. A year ago, we had a lot of recruiting coming in. We increased our resources and structures quite a lot to take this company to an international market and to become also as we became a listed company. During the last six months or so, the recruiting pace has stabilized, and of course revenues grow. Not that much recruiting. Margins should increase, and yes, they did increase. What I'd like to highlight there, although is that on the HCM business, we have a lot of external costs there for the big HCM production. So it's a bit of a sales mix is a bit more focused on the lower margin big events for the Q1. You will see that in our service cost line in the P&L. So 54% revenue growth, EBITDA 13% compared with 10% a year ago. Of course, we had quite a sluggish Q1 a year ago, so that should be taken into account. With the Sweden business, we're happy with how the acquisition we did has gone. So the integration is progressing as we have planned. The business itself is going as planned and as we have expected, so no big surprises there. On the short run, in the events business in Sweden, there's a lot of things we can develop in that business area from what we have learned in Finland in operating in this business area for quite a while. So there's a lot of things we're automating on the kind of like basic productions, and then also upgrading the clients to our new kind of like higher end studio productions in our new Stockholm studio. And of course, longer term, we're looking into launching our other product offerings for the investor relations in Sweden. So step by step progressing there as well. A good start for the year. The acquisition is very much reflected on our number of clients. So that grew to almost 400 listed company customers. To remind you, in Finland, we basically have all the listed companies, except for a few ones. We have all them as clients in Finland for at least one or several of our product areas. In Sweden, we now have over 200 clients, so that gives quite solid foundation for future growth, and that is mainly in the events business. So a good foundation for future growth on the client base. Our number of active community members has decreased. So that is the amount of users that have been logged in during the past 12 months. That's how we calculate it. So of course, many users consume our research and other content through other channels without being logged in, but that's kind of like the one of the KPIs that we measure ourselves. That number had a big boost during 21 when the market was booming, and when the market came down, quite a lot of those new investors that came to the market fell off. So that's why we're seeing a decrease in there. That mentioned, I would say that at the same time, the kind of like core of our community, the most active user base, remains highly active, and in the shorter numbers, looking at 1 month or 3 month activity, we are seeing actually a pickup in the activity of our users. So we are kind of like not happy with the community size decreasing, but we are not too worried about it.
So I understand you measure this on a 12-month basis, but if you go in and looking where the market has stabilized, I know Finland is still a little bit down, but there is, in my sense, also a little bit more optimism and interest in being an investor again. So can you see that in the more short-term data on the community side?
I wouldn't say kind of like it's turning, not too optimistic, but I would say it's stabilizing. Okay. and maybe a few signs of pickup as well.
Perfect.
But when it comes down to the community, to remind about our business model, so the stronger and bigger community we have, the easier it is for us to sell many of our product areas. But we can still grow and get new business even if we didn't have a community. The key of the community is that it helps us and brings us competitive advantage in our sales. But for example, in Sweden, it's more about building the distribution network in the early stages, and we do have quite a lot of growth potential even before we will have a community in Sweden. Going to business areas, so with equity research, the contract portfolio for commissioned research continues to grow, even in a difficult market. So we're really happy with that. Basically, we have soon tapped almost all of the Finnish market potential. And there are not many IPOs coming in Finland, so we will need to start winning new contracts in Sweden as well to gain growth in this area going forward 12 months, unless there are a lot of IPOs, and that is only because of the fact that there are no more companies in Finland left to be won for this business area. So at the same time, we need to be proud of what we have achieved in Finland. That is something really incredible and great work from the team.
Yeah, there's a question from the outside. It is kind of incredible to grow this 60%. You had such a maturity and first starting to hire analysts in Sweden. So can you give a little bit flavor? Have you increased some customers offering upselling Is it a price increase? What is kind of, you know, the main factor that you, or is a new company still coming in this quarter?
In the research business, yes.
Yeah, in the research, yeah.
Yes. And then the most significant revenue driver, I would say, is cross-selling of different services. So, for example, those companies that have been in our research business for a long time, now coming in for the quarterly events and then for the AGMs and so on. So that is feeding the growth in Finland. So even though we are very established in Finland, we are seeing quite good growth here as well.
But specifically in the research part, you know, it's with that maturity, still 16% growth. That's so you are getting still a few new companies coming in. That's part of the explanation.
Yeah, exactly. Then going to the events business. So this is actually nowadays our biggest business area. So this business was a clear COVID winner. And once we had the pickup of the COVID, so we more than doubled the business. Last year, we were flat, basically. And last year was really a year of building the new strategy and new offering for post-COVID era. So our clients are going from online to more and more to hybrid, and we needed to adjust our offering for that. And now we have built a strategy so that yes, we doubled in COVID, then 1 year flat, and now we're back on the growth path, I would say. So very good long-term disciplined strategy work that the team has done, and it is now reflected in our Q1 numbers that this strategy work is also paying off. So we have won a lot of these bigger events, especially in the AGM side. So producing larger and larger AGM and investor relations related productions. While kind of like 3 years ago, we were basically only operating on the for the webcasts as a technical producer. So now we're kind of like more an end-to-end player, and that's of course the success we've had in Finland. I'm really happy that those learnings we can now apply to our Sweden business. So there's a lot of things we can how we can develop that business further ahead with the learnings we've had in Finland. So we have our video sync software. With that, we can automate a lot of the processes for these kind of like basic productions of quarterly events. So for example, if a quarterly event in history has required 2 or 3 technicians to produce, with software we can take that down into 1 technician, or even the company operating the event themselves, with us just being on the background as a support. So on one hand, automating a lot of these basic productions. To remind you, Inderes does over 3,000 event productions per year. So there's a lot of processes to automate with our own software capabilities. And then on the other hand, to upgrade these productions into higher end productions with our, for example, with our new studio. So
and a question, it's not only AGM growing. Have you also been able to upgrade, you know, going from a basic event call like we're doing now to a video production? Have you seen that also, some of the explanation? Is that behind the strategy you were talking about? Maybe not on the Swedish market, but also I guess in the Finnish market. So have you also seen that in this quarter, that you have actually gotten some clients to upgrade also to a video production than just a webcast?
Yes, in Finland, kind of like that has been the story actually for past 3 years.
Okay.
So in Finland it started very much with the kind of like small technical productions and now into larger and higher end productions.
Okay.
And in Sweden, that's that's probably going to be the path forward as well. But that's early stages. In Sweden, most of the productions we do are kind of like basic, actually without video even, so basic audio cast investor conference calls. Yes, then going to IR software. So we have actually adjusted the name a bit on this product area to reflect on our focus area. So it's going to be very much focused on the software side. We do have professional services to support the software business, but our focus is on the software side. There, so the HCM product that's been the star product for the start of the year. So over 40% growth in license sales so far, and the season is not yet over, so deals keep still coming in. And we're actually aiming to pilot this product also in Denmark and Sweden during this year. There are going to be 3 pilots. That way we will test the market and find the product market fit and see if we could tap into that market going into next year. Obviously, we have hit something here that is unique and where we are really good. So we believe our product is very very competitive. I mean, over 50% market share gained in less than in basically 2 years. So we think we have something to offer for the next century HCM products. This is a very conservative and area that is not very modern, and we have a modern technology here to offer.
And you now you're mentioning Denmark and Sweden here. Of course, I know about Denmark, but so you are pretty sure that you have the legislative side on in place, right? I guess Finland, there is a little bit of a differences between the countries. So you are convinced that is will be on the will be solved this year. That the software and the legislative side will talk together in those 2 countries. Is that correctly understood?
Yes. There might be some minor adjustments to the product that need to be made. Actually, Denmark and Finland are pretty similar. But yeah, we're prepared for that. And actually, the good thing about this year is, at least in Finland, now we know where the legislation goes. Now we know what the new market standard is. Past 2 years, it's been kind of like no one knows what's going to be the next year HCM season. Now it's getting more stabilized, and now it's kind of like also more better environment to build a long-term business, because we now know where the legislation is going.
And correct me, I guess in Sweden it's also moving in the right direction. I think there's some legislation out there that it is kind of going to be allowing digital events, digital AGMs, where it has almost not, I wouldn't say banned, but it had to be in the physical place where the company was headquartered, right? I think they are easing up a little bit on that. Are you looking into that and seeing some potential maybe for the Swedish market to move ahead like the Finnish?
I guess Sweden is a bit behind Finland here with the legislations. I'm not fully aware right now where it stands. I need to ask from the team that is on this product. But yeah, it's and to remind you, it's not only the virtual AGMs. So many of the AGMs we do here in Finland are actually physical only AGMs, where we bring in the on-site voting capabilities, that you don't need to print out slippers for the votings and so on. So we also digitalize the physical events as such. And then in Finland we do have the first mover companies doing hybrid, so you can participate as a shareholder on site or online, and you can have the same kind of like voting capabilities and so on. So our product is fits into fully virtual, hybrid, and classic AGMs. That's been the strategy, and we can support our customers in the evolution from physical to fully virtual. And it's interesting to see that actually quite many big companies are quite curious about the fully virtual option, because it reduces traveling, it saves quite a lot of costs, and it's for many shareholders, I know some don't like it, but for majority it's a good thing. They can participate from wherever. So I believe that's the long term where this industry is going.
Yeah, it's also kind of my feeling. Some of the big old traditional Danish companies are actually moving that direction right now. Not without a fight, but they are moving in that direction. You know, the green impact. You know, being a green company, using as little resources as possible, right? It is kind of on everybody's agenda. Yeah, so very interesting.
Yeah.
But you're right. I always keep forgetting that you cater also for the voting procedure, which is actually, you know, a very old-fashioned somewhere for that. And
yeah,
perfect.
Yeah. On paper, it's a no-brainer. It's green, and you save a lot. You save quite a lot of money, especially with the big companies, the blue chip companies. And happy to say that we did many AGMs of one of the biggest companies in Finland, so several of them. So that gives us quite a good starting point for this. And to remind you, the AGM license sales feed quite a lot also into the events business.
Yeah.
So there's a good symbiosis between the two. Looking at the numbers in more detail, so 54% growth, 25 without excluding the acquisitions. Recurring revenue 54% of all sales. So recurring revenue up by 54%. That's driven by the both organic growth and the acquisitions, and project revenue 53%. So that's driven by the AGM business and also supported by the acquisitions. Materials and services, that's up by 176%. So quite a big cost item there. That's mainly related to the AGM business and partly related to the acquisitions. Other costs, personnel costs, other operating expenses, mainly up by driven by the acquisition. Actually, otherwise our cost base is relatively flat year on year. So we had a recruiting sprint, and now it's been more stabilized, and obviously that reflected as a improving EBITDA. To remind you, we are in the Finnish accounting standard. That means that when we acquire companies, we amortize the goodwill every quarter from those acquisitions. And last year we did two significant acquisitions, so that has increased our goodwill amortizations by 200,000 euros compared to last year, and that is purely accounting item, no cash flow impact. So we recommend to look at EBITDA to reflect on our operating performance.
Perfect. And just a question here. You will automate more on the Swedish acquisitions. You know, the event business there. Will you see some of the cost also coming down there, or have you already automated more than when you took over the Swedish business, the financial hearing, or is there more to come? You know, as a better margin there in the coming periods when you get more automated.
Yeah, we can, with our own software, we can reduce some of the outside service costs, like the teleconference costs, but on the group level, that's not that significant number that it would much move the needle. It's but yeah, there we can then also we hopefully can automate our own internal processes so that we can free up resources to do more scalable growth, so that we can grow in a more scalable way. I would say that is more like an gradual evolution than a big revolution. Simple basic things, do things in a smarter and more efficient way. So yeah, but I would say there's now we've been just doing the basic stuff for the integration. There's a lot of things to do still in developing the basic operations.
So we should see the cost line come down, but the margin may be coming up because you will have a more scalable business. It will grow slower than your revenue growth over the coming years. Is that how I should look at it from an outside perspective?
Well, partly yes, but on the other hand, we are still a growth company, an international growth company. So yes, we will at the same time take in resources to build new growth. And to expand in other product areas and so on. So yes and no.
Yes, I understand. Yes, on that isolated incident, but no, because you want to build up the Swedish maybe research organization that might counter that. Yes, I understand.
Yeah. So yes, we are still going into Outlook. We are still on a phase where we, as a company, we need to build better structures to become a Nordic organization. So that is one area where we do need to invest in the upcoming years. We are mature in Finland, quite mature growth, I would say, in Finland, but still really early stages in our expansion to new markets. And otherwise on the outlook, so the guidance, yes, it's unchanged from last time. Why? So the background for the outlook, these 5 bullet points, they are basically unchanged. So the operating environment has gone as expected during the start of the year, so that's a good thing. So that's basically, well, we had a good start for the year. Solid sales for the AGM products, but we keep the guidance unchanged, and still you need to deliver on the second half, and there's a lot of uncertainties in the market and so on. So preferably go ahead with this same guidance as last time.
And I know you are an old analyst, so you've been on the other side of this question. So of course we have this question. You maintained the guidance despite the Q1, the trends both on growth and on the margin side is above what you are indicating for the full year. I do understand the AGM business a little bit more pulled towards here, but you also indicated maybe more of the lower margin projects, so might counter that. So is there something we should be aware of in the coming quarters that should bring again the trend down, both on the revenue side, or is there something special in this quarter? So I know you've been putting this question out probably a couple of 100 times to your company, so now you are on the receiving end of it.
Maybe I refer to my CEO comments on the Q1 report. So to remind you, the AGM revenue was a bit weighted towards Q1 this year, so that should be taken into account. Then also events business is our biggest business area nowadays, so that is by nature a bit lower margin business, even though we are really strong and profitable as a events business, but it's lower margin than what the research business and software business kind of like what kind of potential those businesses have margin wise. So that should be also taken into account. But yeah,
but even stripping those out, I guess 25% growth, and I know it's a minimum guidance you have on the 17 million, but that kind of indicated a flat growth if I put the acquisition on top of it. So it is, you have 25% in the first quarter. I know a little bit pulled forward, but so the question is, of course, as you always say, is it conservative? Are you doing this because you have more event business that might be more lumpy, so you maybe not have the same visibility as you maybe would have in a normal business, and want to get a little bit more accustomed to that part of the business? I'm angling a little bit for a question here, Michael.
Yeah, but I would say that is something I need to leave for you as an analyst to speculate on. So
I will do that then.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. So yeah, we're almost done. So a bit more light on these topics as well, with a bit of a longer perspective coming up on our Capital Markets Day, 26th of May. Please join. Welcome everybody to join. You can join it on our Stockholm studio. You can come to our Helsinki studio, or you can watch it online, whichever suits you the best. Event. The invite is coming out in the upcoming days. And there we will reflect more upon the Nordic strategy we've been working throughout the spring on our company strategy. So there we will have a bit more update on these topics with a longer perspective. The basic strategy of Inderes, that I can already say that it remains unchanged. So we built the listed company client base, we built the investor community, and we built solutions that connect investors and listed companies. That's the core of Inderes, democratizing information, democratizing investor information. This is the flywheel. Our strategy is very much about, yes, we have this flywheel operating and spinning in Finland. How do we build a flywheel into a new market? And we need to start building on each part of the flywheel, and then get it spinning. That's the strategy work we've been working on throughout the spring. Long-term objectives. So to remind you, 30 to 50% growth and EBITDA. Last year we were under this range. We said that we will not stop here. We keep pushing ahead, and that's what we did. Now we're off to a good start for the year, but we will not get too excited about it. We continue our disciplined work, long-term work in this company. And the long-term targets, we will get back to those on the Capital Markets Day. Yeah, so that's all for the slides today. Do we have questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. On the Swedish operation, are you seeing any customer outflow? Or you counter that with new, or how does it look? You always have to worry a little bit about that when you take over a new company, right? Whether there is someone who sees that as a reason to leave, or how has that developed? In the first period with you as an owner of that.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's always the first month's most critical, because you never cannot be 100% sure of what you acquired and what you got.
Exactly.
The positive news is that no news on that front. So it has gone. The business itself has gone as expected. We have a handful of customers leaving and a handful of customers coming in at the same time. So that's been the story for the start of the year. Obviously, financial hearings is a very established company in Sweden. Long customer relationships, recurring type of business with the quarterly production. So that's basically also what we were expecting. It should be a pretty sticky business.
And maybe on the upselling part there, are you seeing any signs? As you said, a lot of those calls are actually made in Sweden, not with video, but on audio only. And I know there is some conservatism that is how it's always been done in the IR and on a little bit bigger companies. So I'm starting to see any interest or some upselling opportunities there to enhance it to video production, to studio production and such.
Yes. A lot of curiosity in the customers towards our studios and higher end productions. The investor relations, it's very much you need to build that market yourself. When the investor relations notice that others are doing very professional and good looking productions, then they want to have it themselves as well. Yeah. So that's what we have seen in Finland. Many companies doing very professional and good-looking higher end productions, and then other companies following them. But yeah, you kind of like financial hearings created the market for audio casts like 20 years ago. They built the market, and now we need to build the market for video and studio, also for a bit more relaxed and a bit more casual quarterly presentation communication. So it doesn't always need to be this talking head with slides and repeating the same thing that is also already set on the actual quarterly press release. So we're also looking into new formats that we can make the quarterly events, I would not say entertaining, but I would say more entertaining for the audience.
Yeah, or the private investors, I guess. I guess is that a little bit of your Finnish model where you have the presentation and then also you have the analyst or someone else kind of went through a lot of questions, taking maybe on a little softer and maybe not so technical part as many private investors are not interested in. Is that a way to go also in Sweden?
Yeah, and it's not only the private investors. It's actually the professional investors also like when the communications is more relaxed and kind of like more entertaining, I would say. So that applies to all investors. Yeah.
I will not, I will wait with some of the margin questions, and in the long run until we have heard more on this capital markets day. I guess you kind of alluded that we will learn more about the long-term business, so I will not go into that. Last question, is the capital markets day, is that in English? Will it be presented in English?
Yes, it will be in English.
Perfect. Michael, I think I went through the questions I have, and you went through the presentation, and we got all the questions from the outside. So I will thank the audience and you for taking us through this presentation. So may everybody have a nice day.
Thank you.